and we're going to be chatting about the biggest shifts in the Austin real estate market. Rent prices are dropping. Whether you're a landlord, tenant, or investor, these shifts impact everyone. And today, we're going to unpack why rents are going down, how landlords can adjust their strategies, what tenants should expect. We're going to talk about short-term, medium-term, long-term rental strategies, and how to stay ahead and adapt in a shifting rental market. So the market's always changing, and we understand that, and we'll adapt and jump in. So thoughts, why are rents dropping in Austin? Who would like to start? Ladies first, Daphne.
Sure. I think that basically just comes down to the fact that we have so much more inventory available. Feel free to weigh in, both of you, on this, but I've seen a lot of home sellers that are trying to sell their home and it hasn't been able to sell. So I think the second best option is renting. So of course we have higher. Oh, Ian left. Hopefully he'll be back. Maybe he got hit by lightning too.
There was a lot of lightning and thunder messing up our computers.
Yeah, if you guys are not in Texas, particularly in the north side of Austin, we are having thunderstorms, and JJ just had a massive, I guess, round of thunder and lightning at the same time, and like your lights went out, right?
Yeah, and you heard it, and then Ian didn't hear it.
Oh, I heard it and I saw it.
Oh, you saw it?
Yeah, I saw the big flash outside your window, and then I saw how your lights went off for a second.
Oh, I didn't see the flash.
Yeah, no, it was crazy. Ian's back, but he's frozen. Oh, there he is. We can't hear you. No, I can't hear you. No audio from Ian.
Oh, you can't even hear me. Gosh.
There we go.
Now we can.
There we go. Okay, just like so, everybody who's watching, the power has been going in and out for JJ, myself. Apparently, Daphne, I don't know if it's hit you yet, but yeah, we're back. So sorry for that.
I was just filling everyone in how we've got thunderstorms right
now. We're all on the same page there.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and you had like this huge crash that I heard. I was like, oh man, that's a lot. That's a lot.
It's bound to come.
Did you make it through the intro?
We made it through the intro, and Daphne was just talking about how when a seller, let me paraphrase, sellers aren't selling because they're adjusting to the market, and then you're saying that they're coming up as rentals.
Yeah, some of the homes that are on the market for sale weren't able to be sold. So I think a lot of people are putting their home on the market as a rental. And that, I think, combined with the outrageous amount of apartment development throughout the suburbs in Austin, there's just way more inventory than there has been in such a long time. So due to that, my best guess is that that's why rents are going down.
Yeah, I think those are big factors. And generally, too, on top of that, you're looking at equity that's also adapting. So, people's net worth, like a seller, for instance, the seller that you're talking about thought that they could sell up here. They realize it's down here. They still want to move. They move out, but they're moving out with less net worth in their pocket. So they're also adjusting to that aspect of the market. And then when you see the apartments and you see the house inventory, if you're a tenant or a buyer in Austin, there's a lot of time to think. There's a lot of time to shop. There's a lot of options out there. And that essentially would cause rental rates to go down.
Oh, yeah. I've got some data if y'all want to see it.
Please.
Yeah, what you got?
Oh, man. This hurts a little bit. You ready?
Maybe.
So forgive me for sniffling. Obviously, we were talking earlier about the allergies that Daphne and I are experiencing. I've taken a Zyrtec and everything, but okay. So this data, I put together the last essentially 5 years of rental prices per quarter. I didn't break it out by month. Maybe in the future I'll do it by month. But if you look at it, so the first year was 2020. Rents were steadily rising. 2021 is the orange. Rents were steadily rising. You look at 2022, pandemic, everything jumped. Everything just flew up there, right? And so at the peak of Q4 of 2022, we were sitting at 3,000. Now this is Austin MSA. That's a lot. That's a lot. And these are closed rent prices, not just active leases. Okay. And then fast forward to 2023 and we saw, uh-oh. And now 2024, uh-oh. It dropped in Q2, but then it started going back up, which is interesting. Why do you think it went up here in Q3 of last year and back down?
That's crazy.
I think it's exactly what y'all were saying, where people were going back to work, had these houses, were trying to sell, they couldn't sell. And so now they've got these houses that are being leased out instead.
Yeah, they tried to put them through the spring market, which would fall at the start of Q2. And if they didn't sell, just like you said, Q3, summer, put them on the market for lease.
Yep. Yeah, because these are closed. So it's like a lagging indicator, right? So this is what happened over the summer. Right. So for anybody watching this, this is it's really insightful, obviously, of what's happening in the Austin market. JJ?
Yeah, I experienced this because I also do landlord lease listings. I love doing sellers, but just like Daphne was saying, some of these people end up leasing, which is great. It's fine. And this is these numbers actually remind me of a Northwest Austin house, 3-bed, 2-bath, I think like 2 living, 1970s, like off of Balcones, 183, and remodeled, fairly remodeled, most of the house, like kitchen, primary bath, and he leased it sometime back at like 3,000, and we ended up leasing it in the 2000s. And watching that price drop, he was very alarmed by it, to say the least. And he's like, "This is unprecedented. Like, when do rental rates go down in Austin?" You know, he's had that house for a while. I've been leasing it out to him, or leasing it out for him for some time, and it's just tough because if you're expecting 3,000 a month, and then all of a sudden you're getting almost 600 less per month.
Yep.
That's tough.
That's super hard.
Well, and it's funny that you said that. He said his phrase was, "When do lease prices go down in Austin?" I think a lot of people ask that question, right? Like when, like I think they're looking for a trend. Like, when should I list my home to lease based on historic trends? And it's like, yeah, but if everybody's doing it based on this trend, are you trying to beat the trend? Are you trying to align with the trend? It's just a common question that I think people get a lot or ask a lot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Speaking
Daphne,
of which,
do you also, I heard JJ, you said this, and I know that I also help with lease listings. Daphne, do you help with lease listings for clients?
I don't. I've been more open to it this year, but not currently.
don't do it. I'm just kidding.
It's harder. It's harder because I don't handle property management, but I can help them secure a tenant. And so that gets a little challenging because a lot of people want both, especially if they're not physically here in Texas.
Right. And knowing at what point to disconnect and be like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah. Well, I guess I would say I have a handful of clientele that prefer to manage the properties themselves. They may or may not have a large portfolio. If you have, 1 or 2 rental homes, you might be fine with renting it out, like leasing it and just managing it yourselves. I'll help you find a tenant. And then, like maybe you don't feel like there's the necessity to pay a property management company. I'm not saying there is or isn't. I'm saying some people feel that way until they have a portfolio of maybe 5 to 10 rentals. And then they start seeking property management assistance.
100%. I think like in Texas itself, if you live in or near the city where you have rentals, it's actually very, very manageable if you have a small portfolio. So many of the landlord laws are swayed towards the landlords that it's very easy to take care of a bad tenant. So if you've got a good home, a good quality home, and charging correct market prices for your rental, you're likely not to have any issues. And you're very thorough with picking out your tenant. You're very likely not to have any issues.
Speaking of investors, if you have an investor, they're a landlord, let's say they're paying for property management, they're taking this negative $600 a month. Any advice for landlord adjustments, or or even an investor that wants to be a landlord? What would you tell potential landlords and current landlords about navigating property in Austin right now?
It's a really good question. I
Specific
don't
to
have an
right
answer,
now?
Ian.
Yeah.
Specific to right now?
Yeah.
Um, a lot of people focus on what they see on Zillow that's active, or on Realtor.com, or on different MLS portals that's active. This goes across the board, sales, rentals, it doesn't matter. But you really need to focus on what's closed and have that analysis done with a real estate agent. And the reason why is because if you look at a lot of active data, it's going to give you this false sense of security that that's what your home is worth.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you look at active data, a lot of these homes are on the market for 120 days right now, specifically
Yeah.
right now. And so you don't want to be pricing your home like, let's say it's 2,800 and you're like, well, there's only like 4 other homes listed for 2,800. It's like, yeah, but how many of them closed? Oh, well, you look at it because Zillow may not show this. I was actually just doing this comp with a client, and we were looking at her home. All the things that were showing like her home, similar to her home on Zillow specifically, were off market. You couldn't even rent them. So it's not like it was actual competition, but Zillow does, like, it was really hard for people that don't know what to look for to see that. It was insane.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so wait a minute. We don't actually have any competition for this listing. Oh, but Zillow's lying. Sorry, but
They're not accurate.
Misleading. It's not lying, and it's not inaccurate. It's just misleading because it's showing this property that we have versus similar properties, but that aren't even for rent. It's an incongruency. It's really challenging.
Mm-hmm.
So, but another thing that we need to talk about, and JJ, this is you brought this up. I just wanted to wait to show the article.
What do we got? Austin asking rents drop 16% in January, more than any other major metro, and are now 400 below the record high. That's how we kicked off 2025.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's a thought. Do you think there's an opportunity? Like, do you even perceive Austin as a landlord, like an investor friendly, be a landlord city?
No.
Let's talk on that, Daphne.
Because we were starting to talk, like, what advice do you give somebody that wants to be an investor or that is an investor? And honestly, like, I don't work with a lot of investors for this exact reason. Every now and then I get somebody that reaches out and they're like, I want to find a cash flow property in Austin. And I'm like, it's not going to happen. It's really not going to happen. And I try to set the expectation you can buy something today and wait for 5, maybe 6 years for it to cash flow. You might be breaking even, but it's more of an appreciation game, if you're lucky, than cash flow. Austin just doesn't allow for it.
Yeah, I agree. And even for those that might think there's an opportunity, let's talk through it.
Yeah.
We know that seller prices are going down.
Mm-hmm.
We know that renter prices are going down. Is there an opportunity there, or is that still more of the same?
Oh, there's an opportunity there, but it depends for what, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the people that are really, like, in the best position right now are people that are looking to buy their primary residence and potentially get into something at a good price with very little down. Or, I mean, they can do more if they want, but you can do like almost zero down in a lot of instances now because there is no competition and you don't have to show that you're putting down 30% and cover the difference in appraisal and cover your own closing costs. Like, you can get in for very little money. And builders also have a surplus and they're willing to cover so many expenses. I think, going back to the question, there is a lot of opportunity, particularly for primary home buyers.
Now that we're talking about that, another element could be, we have some.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure that we shared
Yes.
this. Because the internet went out, I lost the whole window.
Yeah, is it Aaron? Yes. You got the bad weather. That was bananas.
Thank you, Aaron, for that. Yes. Look.
She also says new landlords that don't know what they're doing are renting at costs. I don't know what RTO impacts this too.
Return to office.
Oh yeah. Return to
That's all the
office.
company's saying. You have to go back into the office, and people fleeing, I'll say fleeing, like back to wherever they originally came from, if it was New York or California or Colorado or wherever, Florida.
She also says, or he or she. Do we know Aaron?
It's a he, yeah.
He. Rates went down in 2024 and they sold instead of rented. Landlording is hard. Let the professionals do it. Definitely. Extra sleep is worth $150 per month. Always focus on the comparative market analysis, which you could work with a realtor on. There you go. Cash flowing is really easy on investor properties, even in Austin. You just have to know what you're doing. Yeah. Path is in the math. What's that?
Specifically these two comments, right? So the 150 you will lose per month. So what Aaron's alluding to here is that if you are managing the property on your own, that's fine. Like Daphne said, if you know what you're doing or you're close or something like that, or you have experience. But if you want much less of a headache and you want a property management company to handle just collecting your rent and like maintenance calls and those sorts of things, it's going to be different based on your portfolio and the rent price, but approximately $150 a month is what you can expect on top of or for the fee for the property management company. Again,
right.
Every relationship is different, but that's what he's alluding to when he's talking about this price.
Also, I do, obviously, as a real estate professional, I do think that, yeah, the property management could be percentage points on total rent. So the challenge with landlording, property managing, and leasing, I do suggest professional real estate, like real estate professionals. I was joking about taking lease listings earlier because I felt like I've taken a lot more these days. Obviously, we're talking about the flow of the market too,
Right.
and it's tough, like to adjust to the lesser demand, figuring out what the rental rate is. You have tenants. It's just like being a seller listing agent. You have demand that has a lot of options of looking around. You got to figure out how to get them involved, not to mention making sure they do a background check and all that stuff too.
Yep. And they are who they say they are.
Application processes.
Yeah. Renters are a lot. They're super flaky. Super flaky.
They're pretty
I want to
slippery.
say that the average renter's age in Austin right now has dropped, which decreases the amount of people with larger families in the Austin, Texas area, because it's a younger city.
Yeah.
Right. And so we also have a lot of apartment complexes going up, which is extremely relevant.
Hold on, a truck is pulling out front.
That's okay. Let it pull. Oh, like you don't know who it is? Oh man. Aaron says, JJ, what I do is take a CMA and I list at the lower part of CMA. Never had a problem renting a house.
JJ, fill us in. What happened?
It's a fire truck. They just parked out front of my house.
I heard.
Dude,
let me look outside.
It had to be like lightning struck in front of your house.
Take video. Okay. Well,
right. Next, KView News will be at JJ's house in a moment.
Oh my gosh. Could you imagine? I hope not. Maybe it hit like an electrical box or something.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounded like an explosion.
They're bringing a hose into my next door neighbor's house.
Do you need to go see?
Oh my goodness, dude.
I feel like I should.
Bring a camera. Bring your phone.
So the next topic is, how does this affect tenants?
Okay. We're going to hold it down. Go get the gossip for us. I really want to know.
Oh my goodness.
That is so, gosh, I hope they're okay.
Yeah, I hope so. And this, you know what? This is one of those things where it doesn't matter if you have solar, it doesn't matter if it's all electric, gas, whatever. Like this is, I don't know what it was, but it was a loud explosion. Uh-oh.
It really was.
I told him to bring his camera.
Yeah. Okay. We need footage. I want to touch on something really quick.
Yeah.
Maybe not so quick, but you had mentioned the development of apartments. And I live like in North Central Austin, and I have some property like in Pflugerville, Northeast Austin. So I've spent a decent amount of time there. And there are big patches of land. And tell me if this is true where you are also, but there's been really big patches of land, fields, I would say, where you start seeing development, and then there are always these massive apartment complexes. And there's literally thousands of units. I think it looks like thousands of units, maybe hundreds, in each of these developments. And I just cannot imagine they are at full occupancy. Can you hear me okay?
I'm having a hard time hearing you, but I'm trying to adjust my sound to um, so I can hear you. So I can hear you better. I
Yeah,
don't know that that's the case for anybody else, but for me. And
it
then
is.
the software that we're using will adjust your audio pretty well.
Okay. Um, yeah, so seeing all these apartment developments with such a vast amount of actual apartments in them, it's absolutely unreal, and it's kind of not kind of very annoying because you see all these apartments, but then there's like nothing to do around them. Are you seeing that over where you are?
I'm seeing this everywhere in
Right?
the area. So Aaron says, Daphne, they did this around Lake Pflugerville,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a perfect example of one of those areas where there's so much growth in the moment. Like, we watch cranes essentially, like where people developing, and
Hmm.
there are a lot of these large complexes, apartment complexes all over.
Yeah.
So I think the question becomes, who are the people that are renting these,
Yeah.
right? And if the demand is actually there. I don't know if the demand is there yet. This might be foreshadowing, right? So like the Taylor plant, for example, for Samsung isn't open yet, and that would be a
Um,
perfect place. Yeah, what's up?
sorry, my neighbor has fumes coming out of the bathroom, like the
Are you
outlets
gonna
and
stay or
stuff.
not? Yeah,
I'm gonna walk around my house.
Okay.
please do. Yeah,
We'll be here. Oh my
coming to you
goodness.
live.
This is wild. That's the thing. It's like it gets really hot here in the summer, and we don't usually have mm, crippling weather conditions aside from just being really hot.
Yeah,
But every now and then we get some freak thing like this. We'll have a freeze, or a couple years ago there was a tornado that touched down in Round Rock. It was like in one small neighborhood, and poor JJ's neighbor's house got probably hit by lightning or something.
I so this was actually one of the reasons why I chose Austin as an area. I figured it was incubated from a lot of these weather patterns.
Hmm.
Turns out, no, I'm just kidding. I mean, there are a
There's
few, here and there, but like you said, it's not often. So
It's really
I
not, but
wanted to.
we'll just yeah, we'll get like some wild card from time to time. All right, what's
Yep.
Aaron saying? Oh, he can hear me okay. It's completely. The problem is, I feel like that is a completely different market. What, which, what's a completely different
He,
market?
the people that are renting these larger in these larger complexes
Uh,
versus a single family home renter.
okay, yeah, I think that's a valid statement. It is a valid statement. I think it's just, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? I don't have anything intelligent to say.
100%. I think that is a completely different market because if they're looking to rent, um, generally they care less about a yard,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or it's a younger couple or a single person that doesn't need the space. And
Right.
I'm not saying that you don't get the same kind of space in an apartment. I think it's a different mindset
Yeah.
at the time that you're looking to rent, right? Some people want flexibility. I know I have some clients that I'm working with now, and they're considering buying because there's some insane deals,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to new construction, but their lease prices are really reasonable, and they
Yeah.
like the concept of flexibility and then waiting. And I'm like, well, you have no guarantee. Obviously, we have no guarantee that the rent won't fluctuate up or down,
Hmm.
but also the the prices of homes. Like I always ask the question, do you think homes are going to be more or less next year?
Right.
Right. And so if you're saving and waiting, your savings and your income has to increase faster, almost faster than the price of the market. in order for that to make any logical sense,
And
unless it's quality of life related.
yeah. And making the change from being a renter to buying, I think always feels very expensive. I mean,
Yeah.
and it is now. Now it's more expensive than it has been, obviously, in a long time. But I've always said this, and I stand by this. Like, now is the most expensive time to buy, whatever now is. Whether it was 10 years ago or today, it's like there's always that adjustment that you have. But then, of course, you've got the equity and long term investment, essentially.
Yeah, Aaron had a couple other things to add.
Let's see. Who wants luxury studio in single bedroom apartments for a family? Yeah, no, I mean, that's not a thing. You're right. So will prices go up or down next year? If we had a crystal ball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But that's just it. Like, how many people wait, like trying to wait and trying to plan? And right now the interest rates are higher, right? So like with everything remaining the same, do we have any confidence that prices will stay the same or go down? In my opinion, I don't think so. Like looking at the trend, looking at people still moving here. Sure, there was a blip, but it was short-lived in the grand scheme of things,
As
right?
far as
And how many people have had homes that they bought in the last couple of years that they didn't have to sell? Have to is a strong word, but that they didn't have to sell, that they're going to be able to continue to cash flow or profit on in the next couple of years. Uh-oh.
What's the latest?
All right. So this is outside my house. You can't really see it. There's a glare.
Oh, I see it.
There's 2 fire trucks. My neighbors are in my house, in my garage, because so we think that lightning hit like one of the ventilation poles, and it's like scorched, like on the ceiling, and then it came in and started fuming into the bathroom.
Oh my goodness!
Like the smoke. So what you saw, Daphne, when you saw the flash behind, I think that was like lightning hitting next door.
That's wild. Like literally, my computer shook when that happened.
Yeah, my skin was crawling for like a minute.
Yeah, you looked super shocked with like a human shock, not just like, wow, what a surprise.
Yeah, it was just like
Adrenaline
vibrating within.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think my house is okay because it's isolated, right? Like, if one house gets hit, it doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't go and hit all the houses. It's not like.
Do you have a JJ personal question? Do you have a surge protector on your home?
Yeah, that was another thing. When I was going around, the lights weren't working because well, I don't know exactly what I have, but the breakers and stuff.
So for anybody that's listening, watching, if you have a newer home, you'll want to, or if you're looking into purchasing a newer construction home, you'll want to check that they have a surge protector at the breaker box. That's the first thing. If you have been in a home for a while or you're buying an older home, you absolutely want to have a conversation about that for situations like this. Now, if you don't care and you want to take the risk, fine. But we had one installed late last year, or no. Gosh, man, it's almost 2 years at this point. About 2 years ago, and stuff like this, that's what it protects against, right? Just like the home, just like the surge protector in your home for your TV or for your computers. As the surge comes through, it'll shut it off, and hopefully your products don't get damaged. And kind of the same thing with the home. You don't want all your major appliances to get damaged and then have to deal with insurance companies or home warranties or any of that.
What is the cost of a surge protector?
Well, it depends if they're doing other electrical work at the same time. So I had to increase my total amperage to get for the car upgrade, and I had some more work done, and so like I was doing a lot, so I just didn't have enough amperage on my home. So while I was doing that, I said, "Hey, can you throw in a surge protector?" And they're like, "Yeah, we'll just charge you for the part." And I think the part was really reasonable, like $300,
Yeah.
three or 400. So I would imagine a couple hundred, $600 maybe.
That's
a lot
wild.
of those electric parts are not like the pieces and components of these like little
Oh
upgrades
yeah,
that make a big difference are not expensive. It's just like the work and getting
yeah.
some of the houses they're doing.
And just like the surge protectors in your home, like what do they protect against? What's your warranty policy? All of that applies still too.
Yeah.
And relevant to the podcast, renter's insurance is important. Landlord, you have to also have a insurance policy when you have tenant property.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people know that.
You should. If you're watching this, lightning literally struck next door.
Yeah.
You're almost like in the
Well,
final
and
destination of things
not to
happening to properties.
not to put their information out there, but do you know if they're renters or owners?
They're owners.
Yeah, okay.
The other next door is renters. I leased out that house actually.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, they were Facebook. They originally worked at Facebook, had to move here. Then for some reason, Facebook had them go back to Palo Alto. I don't know. And then the Tesla
Return to
manager
work,
moved in.
man. Return to
Yeah.
work.
All right. Did y'all get the tenant stuff?
I don't know if we did. Did we talk about it?
We talked about some stuff. I don't know. What recap?
I think it was tenant stuff. Well, I got a new topic. How about short and medium term rentals? Because I think what we were talking about was more long term rentals. Oh, we have some more
Oh my.
comments
Yeah.
here.
Aaron's very, very engaged.
Interactive. Always.
Appreciate you, Aaron.
Yeah.
JJ, what do I do? What I do is take a CMA. There you go. That already sounds great. Yeah, and you work with the CMA and you are very reasonable and you position properly. Daphne, they did this around Lake Pflugerville.
That one he was talking about the
Yeah.
So Aaron might be in Pflugerville. Lightning struck Pflugerville. Different market, luxury studio, and single bedroom apartments for a family.
Let's see. We are actually at the last comment that he left. So let's see.
Oh. If prices go down, you're saying you will see a deflation, which is economic suicide. What makes someone think they will survive the economic suicide?
Like, what will make someone think that if they're renting a place, that it's not going to impact them? Like their rents won't be adjusted the next year or the following year, or that the landlord won't have to sell the house. Like, what makes them think that? Right? Because if you own the house, as long as you can maintain your mortgage payment and the job, you should be good. It's the selling on accident or due to emergency situation or relocation that causes the issue.
Yes.
When you sell because you didn't plan or because something changed in your life. And I'm not, there's nothing wrong with that. That's what happens.
It happens sometimes.
So what do y'all think about the short and medium term rentals? Daphne, you want to speak on medium term rentals?
Definitely. So I personally have several throughout Austin, and had a bit of a slowdown at the beginning of the year with the demand. I don't know if this is like a start of the year thing, if that market is just slower during the very beginning, and if it's going to pick up again in the spring. It did this a couple years ago where I had a couple vacancies for about a month and a half. And then all of a sudden the rest of the year they were fully booked out. So I'm hoping it's related to that. But one thing that I think is very relevant here is the fact that for me, a lot of the midterm rentals are rented by corporations or companies that are looking for employee housing. And these corporations have contracts with some of the big IT companies here in Austin. And if they've had the layoffs and if they've had less work to go around, they're not going to be bringing on contractors, and they're not going to need a place to stay in Austin. So I think that's where a lot of the discrepancy is coming from.
Have you been following which companies are doing layoffs?
So like Tesla's known for doing layoffs all the time.
We've talked about that.
Yep. I have one group. It's a very large group from South Africa that was renting 2 houses. I thought that they're working with Tesla, and I thought they were going to get laid off last spring. Knock on wood, they did not. So like Tesla's one of them, and then there's some other like smaller IT companies too. They're just spending less money on labor and trying to bring in less high quality employees instead of just bringing a bunch of people in. That they're cutting a lot of fat, basically.
So then those people, where do they go? They go back?
Yeah, because if they're staying here temporarily, they'll go back to their home wherever that may be.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
that's less transactional activity down here.
Something kind of random, not really related, but sort of. I just think this is cool. But I have a house that is being rented out by a group of camera people for a movie, apparently that they're shooting here in Austin.
Yeah, there's a few. It's not Back to the Future 4 though. That rumor was debunked.
Do you know what movie they are?
I forget. I watch that Cinecritic and all that. Like I watch it pretty closely, and then I always forget. But I love it. So yeah, like we should actually talk about that films.
I think there's an economic, especially with South by next month. There's some economic Matthew McConaughey Hollywood thing, maybe.
There are a few movie studios, smaller movie
Right.
studios. Oh, Aaron just let me get this up.
What's Aaron got to say?
Office Space 2, that would be incredible. Because Office
No
Space
way, dude.
Well, the first one was filmed here.
Yeah. You know what's crazy if you watch it closely and you know Austin? It's like an apartment building and a bunch of fields.
Yep.
And you see the industrial office warehouse, and it's you remember that small like IBM town
Yeah.
of the 90s.
Yeah. That's always crazy to see a town that you know so well on like a big TV show or a movie like that.
Yep.
It's wild.
What it was, yeah.
From being in Austin so long. Yeah.
Yeah,
Not that you care about this. This isn't like directly relevant, but when I went to Chicago last, a couple weeks ago, I was driving through the tunnels where they were where they had Batman Begins. Remember that movie, Batman? And remember the tunnels were very iconic. And I've been in and out all the time, but I don't remember seeing them like that. And I was actually, anyway, whatever. So yeah, Office Space is great.
Yeah, movies like they bring some type of like tourism, this feel.
Austin is a touristy town.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like, why do you think Matthew McConaughey is even popular from that terrible movie? Hot, unpopular opinion. Dazed and Confused. Sorry.
Dude, that's a classic.
I know. That's like blasphemy.
I haven't seen it. I've only seen the one clip.
It's
everybody's only seen the one clip. Yeah.
It's just some high school kids that throw a party in the field. Like they bring a keg to some woodsy area and they park their cars and have a party.
Daphne, imagine that being the entire plot.
Like it sounds like that's what the entire plot is.
Yeah, it is the entire plot. See, look at Aaron. Look, it's it's great. I'm watching it wrong. Apparently, I'm watching it wrong. Can't say that on YouTube. Don't say it.
Aaron says.
Say it on YouTube. Stop it.
Why? Really?
Herbal.
Yeah.
You need to do it on an herbal experience.
Yeah, you can't say that kind of stuff. That's the thing. So
this goes on YouTube.
YouTube is owned by Google. Google leans careful speech.
I think I've heard a few rap songs promoting such activities that
I've heard several.
Yeah, that you should engage in when watching Dazed and Confused. Hold on, I gotta pull this up. I think this is a little bit back on topic, not too much. No, it's directly back on topic.
Yeah, this is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, I would to say too, because this is where it all fits. Like short term and medium term are like studio related, tenants, right?
Yeah.
I would say yes, studio related, but any type of large scale projects that are going to last for 3 months to 2 years.
Yeah. Or how in Pflugerville they shot, or throughout Austin, really. What was it? Friday Night Lights.
Oh yeah.
The football series.
So my question for people that are in Austin that either own and operate Airbnbs or just that care about the idea of Airbnb, VRBO, or other short-term rentals, how do you feel about imposing the cost for the license, mandating it, or just Airbnbs in general? Make sure you leave a comment on that. I'm super curious.
Yeah, would love to hear what other people think about that.
Mm-hmm.
and I'm speaking not from statistics, more like anecdotal, but when I keep my eyes and ears open, I'm hearing that short-term Airbnb, maybe it depends on the area, probably does depend on the area, but some of that is also not as ample transaction-wise as it used to be. Is that
It
what you're hearing?
absolutely, it absolutely depends on the area. You can look at Airbnb trends if it's near water or near
Mhm.
downtown or like some kind of city center. That might make sense, or some kind of employer that might make sense. But there are just too many regular rentals in most of the suburbs now, and short-term rentals are going to take a hit with that. Because like how long? I guess it also depends on how long people are staying and why they're coming here. South by Southwest is always going to be a boom, right?
Right.
Oh, Aaron's talking about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That closed. The general store. It closed in Seal, where the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was.
Where?
There's a general store in Seal, and then there was another one somewhere further out. But in the movie, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the
Where's
gas
Seal,
station
Texas?
was essentially in Pflugerville. It was like right on the border of Pflugerville.
Oh, that's what Aaron's talking about. I knew something. Anytime I drive around Texas in general, I just think about, psychos in their houses.
I try to do the Texas tour probably once every 2 years, where it's like all the places that are iconic that I haven't been to in a while. Like I remember the graffiti park that moved and never reopened, right?
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Where was it supposed to move to?
It's over by the airport, but it's there, but it's not operational. Like people aren't there. You can't really go there and do anything. You can drive through the lot, but it's not like built up yet.
What a bummer.
It
That
is a
doesn't
bummer.
sound like a graffiti park.
No,
What
it's
did they
more.
put?
It's just slabs of concrete.
Yuck. What
Yeah,
did they put in the
it's not.
place of the one in like old West Austin area?
Wait, say it again.
The one that we had off of
North Lamar.
Like
yeah,
Clarksville.
yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. There is like a flipping apartment complex or something like
That's what I thought. Yeah. And I bet you it's
right,
completely
and it
vacant.
was so
Oh,
big
that's a
because
great lot for an apartment complex, actually.
yeah, but you'd go to the graffiti park. Like I'd bring clients or people that were thinking of us, and I'd be like, let's go spray paint a wall. It's really ridiculous, but we would go there, and it was cool because it had like the castle looking house that was at the top of the hill.
Yeah.
Climb over these little things. They were selling little trinkets and stuff and art um, in front of the graffiti park, and it was free. Right, so all you have
Yeah.
to do is go to the dollar store or wherever and get some spray paint cans. Sometimes you can get some extra ones there on the ground, and just watch artists and have fun spray painting and taking pictures. It was an awesome experience.
It was a cool place to take photos. It was a really cool spot. And the thing is, like, it changed every week. Like,
Yes.
if you go today, tomorrow was gonna, or the next couple days was gonna be different because so many people got their hands in there.
It was too cool. It was, the real estate side of us looks at that lot and you're like, man,
I get
that's
it.
that's a prime.
It was
Just the
prime.
views and everything. It was beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it was cool. And like you could climb up to like certain spots and like, yeah, just like you said, see really cool things and
You're essentially
Walking
overlooking
distance to
downtown. Like
Borders.
that was a
really
Dude, it
was a
was
viewpoint.
walking distance to Whole
Whole
Foods
Foods.
and Borders and what's the record store right there?
Waterloo.
Waterloo.
Waterloo Records. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, Austin ranks. I've seen it at the top. If you look at apartment, is this one of those? Other or short-term rentals, but
Yes.
apartment complex development. It's like one of the top in the country in the past few years in regards to development and permits. And they also do Airbnbs. Some of these apartments, when they struggle, have you noticed that when they
Yes.
struggle
Yes.
with rentals, they'll like furnish something and do a short term.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they do short term. They can switch like condos, switch to or apartments and switch to condos. You've got people that will do corporate leases or medium term leases, all
Yep.
sorts of changes.
What
We
is
saw
that map? Is that all Airbnbs?
your Airbnb? Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Those got to be apartment complexes.
No, we have a lot. Like when you look downtown, this is great. It's the addresses and everything.
I mean, Austin's pretty hot, but is it that hot?
But these are active, right? So that doesn't mean they're all being leased out or anything like that. I've got a link to this on my website too, because this is the kind of stuff that it's cool to see.
Does it say that it's like too much inventory?
No, so that okay. So what that is it's a custom Google Map API built like aggregate of short-term rentals. Like it's not like if you could have software like DNA, for example, that will tell you about how to find what existing ones are, what existing Airbnb and other short-term rentals are. But this is just somebody created the map and he was like, "This is cool. You should know this." Very much in the culture of Austin.
So I got approached actually this past week from they were Airbnb a duplex. Each side was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, and it's in Windsor Park, which is east side Austin, north of Mueller.
Mhm.
Mueller is a anchor of
A lot of things.
various things, a
Yeah.
city center of sorts.
Area, yep.
North of there, like a 1960s, 70s residential neighborhood. This duplex was Airbnb. Young, mature couple. Now they have a kid, and they're also struggling with Airbnb income, and they're looking to do long-term rental now,
Hmm.
right? And for people in that situation, what's your thoughts if you're a owner, a landlord, a Airbnb owner on holding that Austin property?
Well, a couple things to consider, right? Like, I'd be curious when they bought it and how much equity they have in it.
Right.
Because
Let's say they bought it like 2021 or something.
are they upside down?
I don't
I mean,
know.
they would be, right? Like in that example, let's say they did buy it in 2021, they would be upside down. And
Oh,
it's
then you
like,
can't. You're kind of jammed.
you're super screwed. Like, that's a really bad position to be in.
Right.
Because
Like, can you even afford to sell it is like
That's
the
right.
first question.
If you're lucky, you'll break even. I mean, it comes down, that's kind of a niche. It's a very nuanced question because it comes down to the numbers, like anything and everything else.
So let's say you break even. Would you hold, or would you find a better price to rent ratio? Like sales price to rent ratio?
The problem with that question is there are fees associated with swapping properties. It
A
could be
lot of fees.
capital gains related. It could
Mm-hmm.
be, um, it could just be just standard real estate fees, transaction fees.
Yep.
It would affect your property tax rate. Your appraisal value in your future property because you're no longer able to homestead. Well, you probably wouldn't have a home on that property anyway
Yeah.
Right.
if you're doing things right.
Yeah.
Right.
You'd actually be
Insurance
forced
rates.
to 1031 exchange
Yeah.
instead of cash out,
Yep.
depending on,
But the appraised value of the property is still going to be different of whatever the new property you purchased is. It's going to be different, right? And so now you're being assessed at that value. So I don't think it makes a lot of sense unless you're not gaining any equity or you have like if you had a really good opportunity, a really good deal, maybe, or if you needed to move into a new property and you had to let this one go because you just can't do it financially, I get it. But overall, I'm with Aaron. I'll here. I don't think it makes sense to sell, and I tell that to people all the time. I just don't.
I do too.
Right here, Aaron says he's a permable on the Texas Triangle. I want to never sell.
Yeah, I mean that's ideal. I think that's definitely ideal. I think in real life, some people got to cash out, or some people can't have that deep pocket to hold, depending on the situation, right?
Yeah, it depends on the situation. So like this with the Airbnbs, I don't know that a lot of people understand. I know you mentioned the insurance policy before, but like you have to have $1 million liability insurance policy minimum.
What kind of stuff happens at Airbnb to have that type of insurance policy?
For real.
Oh my gosh, what happened? I mean, fire,
Yeah,
right? Like it could be anything.
fire's enough, probably.
Remember when we had the insurance guy come on and he started talking about trampolines in the backyard?
Oh yeah, he's insurance. It's like watching an insurance commercial talking to the insurance
Oh,
guys.
I know. But if there's a trampoline in the backyard and some neighbor kid comes over to your parents' house and they fall and hurt themselves, now your insurance might not cover it, and it could be hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in a lawsuit. And so he was saying, not only do you get the coverage mandate, like the minimum coverage, but you also need to have it in some kind of protective scenario, like corporation or LLC or something that's protecting you and your assets. Like he gave some good information. So this vote happened on February 27th. And obviously, everybody knows Austin's a capital city. If you want to have an opportunity to vote on these types of things, you can go there and see and listen and participate in these conversations.
Speaking of
Houston or Dallas or whatever, right?
Yeah, another economic factor, minimal, but it's something. Every other year is session where the legislators come in and they have to find medium-term rentals for 6 months to a year to legislate. So, and session's going on right now, January to June.
Yeah, this is another one that you tell me what you think about this. Have you experienced this? I guess is the question. Right here.
I've seen this mostly just driving by these apartment developments. They'll say that they've got free rent, that they've got, whatever for the first month, for the first 2 months, whatever. But I have seen this just kind of at a distance.
Have you seen this in single family rentals?
No.
I mean, essentially, it's a price drop. It's just, it sounds better, right? Like you go back to the 3,000 and then the 600 a month, the negative 600 a month. That's already like a month's worth,
Well, kind of going back to what Aaron said, though, that's a very different market. The tenant, the renter, the apartment renter that's going to be interested in getting a free month's rent, and like that's going to be the selling point for them, is in a completely different place in their life with very different priorities than the person
Right.
that's to want to rent this house. I have not, you guys might have, but I have never seen a single family home will say like, give you a free month's rent. No, that doesn't happen.
Yeah. But like upfront cash, that perspective, yeah, definitely it sounds cooler and you don't pay for a couple months. But in the end, that landlord over that year's period has, got negative yearly rental income to adapt to the lowering rental rates.
I will say I've done a couple things when I'm helping a secure tenant, maybe adding in appliances that weren't there, maybe even purchasing appliances to attach them with rent, like the refrigerator or washer and dryer. Sometimes I'll even suggest to my client that maybe it makes sense to attach landscaping to it, because half the time the tenants are going to take care of the yard anyway, make sure your foundation is moist, all that sort of stuff. So I might touch that. I might do a pet deposit adjustment, right? Like there are all sorts of things that you can play with. Application waived for one person over the age of 18, like all sorts of things that you can do to give that little bit of a nudge without necessarily adjusting the price of the rental. I've done a lot of listings for rentals and and all that sort of stuff. So like I try to get as creative as possible, because you have to, otherwise you're just going to sit there.
Yeah.
Here's a prediction question. Do you think rents will be coming back or when do you think rents would come up for landlords, I guess?
When interest rates come down and inventory goes down as well. It's both, I think, the sale and rent market, though different, also very related.
Yeah, they're like cousins.
Yeah, they really are. Because I think you guys saw the same thing, right? What's that?
Sorry, I completely missed that. All I heard is they're like cousins. I was like, wait, what are we talking about?
JJ was saying, when would would prices come down, right? And it's like it's got to be inventory needs to come down and interest rates need to come down too in order for that to happen, because the purchase residential market is directly connected to the rental market.
I'm going to add one more.
Do
And
it.
you actually brought this one up. It's how many new starts for apartment complexes there
Yeah.
and people aging out of their properties.
Mm.
Right? Like those are all factors in there, two variables in
I
there.
think
And
the
then how
tough
many
the tough thing about a tech city in the experience of Austin is it's highly speculative. Like a developer, they I don't know, they like the more tech developments we talk about Elon or AI or whatever tech, it's just robots and electric vehicles. I feel like they keep building apartment complexes because of that. I mean that's what happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
if it continues, it's like
No. But they're continuing based on projected data,
right,
right?
right.
We're still getting new HEBs. We're still getting companies that are moving here. Realtor.com just last week announced that they're moving here from Bay Area, California.
Yeah,
So, and they will bring so many jobs if their trend continues. They're moving their headquarters here, I should say. And so over the last couple of years, they've brought hundreds of thousands of jobs
right.
or had at least that much turnover. That spurs so much here. And then we're not even talking about the little startup that happen, which will attract people from across the country, kind of like Tesla, right? But like startup companies, these smaller companies in different sectors, especially AI startups, where people are relocating to work for these startups here in Austin, Texas. It's a very startup friendly city.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I will say I appreciate that uh perspective. From my takeaway from all this is there's a lot of data to look at. We just talked about it for this whole hour for your decision making in regards to whether you're a landlord or a tenant. So, you just gotta, I mean, it's supply and demand and how much money is in the market, like understanding the flow of money and economics into a market. Like, does a renter have money? Is there enough supply and demand? So that's my takeaway. What's y'all's takeaways from today's sesh?
Ladies.
I'm thinking Austin in general, our residential like home purchase market is starting to have a comeback from kind of flatlining the second half of 2024. Uh, we will see what happens. Like I said, they are connected, so we're going to see, I think, more this spring what we can anticipate to have happen, because I think the spring markets, both for purchase and rent, are very indicative of the rest of the year and where our economy is. So our takeaways, right? Like, I don't think there's necessarily too much less demand. I think there's just a lot of inventory and it's hard to compete.
Yeah. What you got, Ian? You want to close us out?
Yeah, I think we have an interesting year ahead of us. I feel like the home purchases are going to increase, and not even are going to. Sales have increased over the last 2 months, right? The velocity of sales. So I'm not worried about closings happening. I'm worried about exactly what Daphne said, which is how many new starts and vacancy opportunities or vacancies are happening for apartments specifically, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there are
Right.
always people that are talking about wanting to buy a house. I don't hear people excited to say, I can't wait to rent my next place.
Mm-hmm. Or if they do,
Right?
they don't fully understand the nuance and spectrum of,
Or
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's more like, oh, well, I'm going to go do this thing. And then rent is a byproduct of whatever that thing is.
yeah.
Right? Where housing is like, that's actually a goal.
Mm-hmm.
Renting an apartment is not a goal for people.
Yeah.
It's for some people, but it's not like a traditional long-term um, life-altering goal, is how I'll say it.
Right.
So I think Austin is a very hope-filled city, and people really want to be in the mix, do a lot of things, be part of a lot of things. And with that, I don't know how apartments and houses come into play, but I think, yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to say the least. numbers come out real soon. I know Daphne, I know you'll put that out on your YouTube channel. I'll put it out on my YouTube channel, like what the market numbers are for January of 2025.
Yeah. Those numbers are always interesting. It's always frustrating to me though that they come out so much later.
Yep.
Like we just did a video about a market update like last week.
Yep.
We're February, early part of February, and we're still talking about December of 2024 because that's all we've got. You know, it's like anyway,
Well,
whatever.
I feel like AI has it somewhere, but we don't get it fast enough.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we appreciate y'all tuning in and chatting with us about Austin's rental market and shifting. We hope you go out there and adapt properly.
Amen.
Adapt property?
Properly. Adapt property properly.
Really bad. I know.
Adopt some property.
Property properly.
See y'all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.